Hey everyone, welcome back to Installation 00. Today we've got a pretty epic collab with HiddenXperia, and I'm absolutely pumped to be working with him. I've been a subscriber to him for much longer than I've been Installation 00, so it's pretty awesome to suddenly be working with him, and it's my distinct pleasure, my good man. Over on his channel, you'll find a video exploring the Office of Naval Intelligence and all the shady, underhanded and manipulative things that they've done over and during the Human Covenant War and in the years afterward. The link to his video is in the description. Be sure to give it a watch, and if you haven't, be sure to drop him a like, comment and subscribe to him, because if you're not already, you absolutely have to. The man's got some iconic content, and like me, he's got a Discord server, so be sure to jump in there too. And my video here and now is a theory and an exploration of just how ONI's various transgressions could play out in the future of the Haloverse. Over the time, ONI have taken great efforts to assassinate influential individuals of the movement and desire for colonial independence, in both the political sense as well as the extremist sense. They've used propaganda and misinformation for decades to influence public opinion on agendas that suited ONI above all else, while also systematically absorbing or destroying any other intelligence agencies operating on Earth or the other colonies. They've kidnapped children from the outer colonies to create the Spartan IIs. They allowed the cloning of humans for a few different black projects contrary to the law, and in particular legislation set out by the mortal dictator, all of which were highly compartmentalised, allowing these black projects and their illegal activity to continue unchecked without legal intervention and enforcement for years. They redirected and diverted young orphan children from evacuations of attacked and glassed colony worlds for use in the Spartan III program. They jumped the prison ship Mona Lisa to the destroyed Installation 04 and recovered flood samples, which they then used in experiments on the human and Covenant prisoners on board to see if they could control the flood infections. They've created and tested genetically modified crops the Sangheili normally eat, as a means to make them ill, with the intentions of using the crops to cull the Sangheili population, thereby removing the threat posed by the elites to humanity, despite that there is now an allegiance and a peace treaty between humans and Sangheili. They've supplied weapons to the servants of the abiding truth, the Sangheili resistance opposed to the swords of Sanghelios, indicating that ONI were working both sides of the Sangheili civil war in hopes of them destroying themselves. They refined the Asteroidia compound and developed it into a bioweapon capable of liquefying a target species from the inside out, and then proceeded to test it on captured Kigyar, ultimately resulting in a breach of containment of the bioweapon, leading to the deaths of all of the personnel aboard the Argent Moon. It's needless to say, but the sheer amount of utterly immoral things that ONI have done has pretty much made them an enemy of practically every species in the galaxy, humanity included. So onwards from that, where is this ultimately going? Well, I personally think that it's pretty likely that ONI have done such a good job at making enemies that the next big enemy of the galaxy after the created will be ONI. They are a fully entrenched and compartmentalised military-industrial complex with an almost unlimited budget and even further influence over galactic affairs. They manage the Prowler Corps, which is an entire division of the UNSC Navy operating an unknown quantity of stealth-enabled vessels across space. They have many known high-security facilities and likely several factors more unknown top-secret facilities. They have an unknown personnel number, unknown strategic asset number, and could be operating covert agents in nearly every single branch of the UNSC Navy, Army, Marines, Air Force, UEG and Colonial Alliance. At the beginning of Halo 4, Halsey is seen in an interrogation with an unknown and unnamed individual who talks about Master Chief in a very dismissive and condescending way. I'd love to hear him take the same tone while Chief was in the room with him and see what happens, but that may just be my dark desire to see what a Spartan could actually do to a human being when using lethal force. I bet it would be gloriously terrifying. But I digress. It appears as though they're looking to replace Chief. Proclamations that the Chief is dead and that it was time to move on reinforce a belief that perhaps ONI are concerned by Master Chief, likely due to his influence on the masses, and really being something of a threat to ONI should he once again do what he wants.
Master Chief believes she contacted him.
What? No. John must not speak to her.
He's gone in search of her.
You let him go?
How is
Nobody lets the Chief do anything. He does what he wants.
Until 0631 this morning, when he was declared absent without leave.
And it was suggested in the Hunt the Truth podcast series by Benjamin Gerard in his interview with Franklin Mendez, no less, that perhaps the burden of carrying the weight of humanity's hero may be too much for the chief, and it could potentially be dangerous putting that much on the reputation of a single individual. Let's face it, ONI are not unknown to order hits on people that need to disappear because they threaten the status quo. They framed and imprisoned Ben in Midnight Facility to cover the fact that he was discovering that the Spartan 2s were kidnapped as children, and that information like that could lead to an outright revolution of every one of the outer colonies and driving people into loyalties with the United Rebel Front. They ordered a hit on Dr. Halsey after it was decided that she was not only a war criminal despite acting on ONI's orders, but also that she was now a liability, potentially liaising with the enemy. A hit which, while unsuccessful and ultimately being revoked, still cost Halsey her arm. And in Halo 5, and indeed in aspects of Hunt the Truth, Master Chief was declared absent without leave, and an entire fire team of Spartan 4s was sent to bring him in. The fact of the matter is that Spartan 2s are military assets so powerful and so revered that should one as influential as Chief choose to ignore orders and encourage other Spartans to do so, ONI would be in a position of massive threat. This is in part due to how they were made and how ONI push propaganda surrounding the legendary Spartans, but mainly due to what the Spartans, and in particular what Master Chief, has accomplished on the battlefield. Chief has been ignoring orders more and more frequently in recent times. He ignored Del Rio's orders to hand over Cortana. He ignored Lord Admiral Hood's orders to take some shore leave, and he ignored Lasky when asked to return to the Infinity, taking all of Blue Team with him as he went AWOL. This will not have gone unnoticed by ONI. We know the Spartan 2s have an extreme loyalty to Dr. Halsey. John met Halsey for the first time in years at the end of Halo 5 on Sanghelios. He's inevitably going to ask how she lost her arm. When she says that ONI attempted to execute her, that will sway John a little, and it will probably make conversation between Palmer and John rather frosty. All it takes is a little more of an influence, say from Cortana revealing the extent of their manipulations to Chief, or even Halsey doing the same for that matter. Information coming to light through leaks and whistleblowers could influence Chief still further to start questioning orders from ONI or refusing to take orders altogether. Especially if Halsey brings Chief away to collect Cortana fragments together with her AI containment protocol chip that may restore a now metastable Cortana to a normal friend of humanity Cortana. ONI obviously, and quite rightly, view Cortana as a threat, and if Halsey knows she can fix her and tasks Chief to do it, they will both then be perceived as a massive threat to ONI. We've already seen what Chief did in response to Locke, when Locke said,
"Cortana's our concern now, sir."
Like hell she is.
Even aside from this, Chief seems to be on ONI's radar, and they likely acknowledge that he holds great power and influence over his fellow soldiers, including the most powerful military assets ever created, the Spartan 2s. The whole reason such extreme measures were taken for indoctrination when the children were conscripted into the Spartan program was to assure that they never questioned their orders, and that they never developed sympathies for the insurrectionists because they knew that they were such a dangerous weapon, and that it's better to control that weapon than to be the target of them. Chief embodies the Spartans and is a living example of some of ONI's more morally questionable decisions, and his influence has grown to a point, and his defiance of orders has happened regularly enough, that ONI are likely considering attempting to neutralise Chief. This would explain the interrogation at the start of Halo 4, as well as sending a strike team after Chief in Halo 5. This would be their biggest, and likely their final, mistake. It may even be Locke and Fireteam Osiris who are ordered to do it. Buck has already displayed his distaste at the idea of taking down the Chief, and if pushed into a morally divisive situation between following ONI's orders and saving Chief's life, I think it's likely Buck will take action to stop the hit from happening. In a direct confrontation, Chief's instincts, survivability, and above all luck would win out, and it would be powerfully demonstrated to him, Buck, and anyone else who chose to stand with the Chief that ONI needed to be taken down. We would then likely get the game that we were promised when Halo 5's early trailers and Hunt the Truth was released. Chief, at least to the eyes of the masses, will have gone rogue. Tasked with recovering Cortana as per Halsey's request, and fleeing an arranged hit by ONI with loyal defectors, Chief would then genuinely be declared the fallen Spartan. He'd be pursued by ONI forces, with the newly assembled sentient Cortana helping him. As it was implied in the Infinite trailer, Chief would go full-scale tactical, making his way back to the inner colonies, gaining loyal followers as he went, including the Arbiter and the Swords of Sanghelios, maybe insurrectionists and any other parties who have suffered by ONI's hand. Upon arriving at Earth, Chief could go open comms and begin a succinct but well thought out transmission to everyone. He could tell them of ONI's attempted hit on him, how he and the Spartan Toots came to be, their immoral experiments on the Sangheili and the other alien races, their treatment of the outer colonies, and their lies and misinformation spread to the UNSC, the UEG, and the masses at large. At this, any entrenched ONI agents aboard ships within stations and facilities would likely sense the shift of power, and maybe even ready to draw their weapons to protect themselves. Stealth prowlers would be readying their weapon systems to defend themselves, and ONI would be positioning themselves for a staged and contracted battle. Chief would tell them how entrenched ONI are in all facets of government and military structures. The ONI agents could be anyone, anywhere, and that it was time to take action against the clandestine organisation which had been double-dealing under the table and forcing their agenda forward above all others. He would finally declare that he stands in defiance of ONI and is ready to take them down by force if necessary, and that he urges anyone else who believes him to do the same. At this, all-out civil war would break out, and the ONI threat would begin. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below. I look forward to what you have to say. Again, massive thanks and shout out to HiddenXperia. Get over to his channel and watch his side of our collaboration together. Link is in the description. Like, comment and subscribe to his channel because you know ONI wouldn't want you to do it. And I really look forward to the possibility of working together again in the near future. It's been a pleasure, dude. It really has. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons: Sir Tenshi the Silent Cartographer, Miguel, Brian, Sebastian and Holden, the holders of the mantle, Justin, Darian, Ty, Iron Griffin, Black Biscuit, J Rabbit and Austin, my reclaimers, Zach, Deep Cover, Verbal Statue, Spesigo, Spartan A498, Guppy, Josh and Evan, my Metarchs, and all the other patrons that have jumped aboard to support the channel. You guys are awesome, and all of this wouldn't be possible without you. If you like Halo lore discussed to insane levels of detail, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. Be sure to support us on all major social media channels, including Discord, and if you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there. It would mean the world to me and would free up more of my time to put into this content and other Halo-related goodness. Take it easy, everyone, and find peace in the domain.